people aren't going to say yes to you until they know what's in it for them. They're not going to say yes to you and actually work with you unless they see more value in what you're offering than what you're charging. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Sales Made Simple podcast. It's your host, Joshua Gillow, and I have Oliver Bridgman back on here. He's the co-founder and CEO of Bridge Media. And last week, we talked about the top 3 things you need to be doing as a contractor in your marketing bucket to make sure that you're being found and that the right people are saying yes to you. One was focusing on beautiful pictures on your website. Next is how are you showing up on social media? And finally, how are your reviews? Are you close to 50? Are you getting there? If you're not getting them, why not? If you didn't listen to that episode, go back and take a listen to it. There's a lot of greatness in there. Today, Oliver's back on with us, and we're going to go deeper into, he just finished reading the book, reading the core 10, and he had some different thoughts he wanted to share about how some of the principles that I teach in the book, how it ties into marketing. And so, I mean, there's so many, all those principles can be tied in so many different ways, but I wanted to hear his perspective on how it ties into what he's doing, because you know what? Sales and marketing are almost like Siamese twins, right? You can have great marketing getting leads in the door, but if you can't close them, it's just wasting your money. Or if you have poor marketing, you're not going to get the opportunities to try to close and help clients and make money. So they really do work together very closely. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. So Oliver, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Joshua. Happy to be back.
Thank you, man. So start me off with some thoughts you had from the book and then how they bridge over to the marketing side.
Sure. Yeah. By the way, congratulations, Joshua. I think you did a fantastic job with that book. Really enjoyed reading it. And I definitely plan to share it with a lot of different clients or contractors that we work with and that we talk to. I think it's going to be an invaluable resource for them because I like a lot of the principles in the Core 10. And I find that for me, what I understood overall was an overarching theme of like, take control of the process, right? And don't just be there to trying to do your best and try to please everybody and trying to, it's almost like you're a victim of everything that's going on and you're just trying to survive. And I felt like your Core 10 principles are all things that contractors can put in place to help them get back in control of their sales process. And there's a lot of a couple things that were in there that reflected really well on marketing that I could talk about. You talk about pre-qualifying. I think that's super important. And from a marketing perspective, we see the same thing. So one of the concerns I have when we work with contractors sometimes is they say, I'm getting all these leads from Facebook, but none of them are good, or none of them are qualified. None of them, we're getting all these people. We're wasting all this time. It's important that your marketing is actually starting to qualify clients, and you're demonstrating the type of contractor that you are, the type of projects that you like doing, the type of clients you like working with, and budgets that you like to that you can work with. All of that should actually be reflected in your marketing, so that when people are getting in touch with you, some of them, might already realize they won't be a good fit for your company, and they won't get in touch with you, right? You can actually save some time there. So the goal is, for me anyway, from my perspective, the goal for marketing is not just to try to get as many leads as possible, but is to get leads that are actually going to be aligned with the sales process and with what the contractor wants to do in terms of work.
Yeah, it is so important. Again, we're back to the word alignment, right? So we want to make sure that when they see the website, a website to start with is typically the point in which people make contact, right? They might see a job site sign or whatever, but their first due diligence is typically to a website. And it's like your storefront. We don't have brick and mortar and glass. I mean, some guys do, but most don't. So it's like if they don't have all of that, this is their way of showing the client what is inside. Like if you walk down, a nice street in a city in the United States, and you walk down, you see this little dress boutique, and you're going to walk inside of it, like that, what's in the windows matters. Or if you're going past a hardware store, what's in the windows matters, right? Because you're like, well, that's interesting. I want to come into it. So if we think of our website, it's the same thing as like that storefront coming in. If we're not demonstrating what we do on the front of that very well with great pictures, like we talked in the last episode about, making sure that those are just top-notch pictures. The best visuals of the work that you provide. It doesn't have to be somebody else's work and all that stuff, just the
Yeah.
best stuff you do. Take some time, be purposeful with it. Make sure that you don't have water spots all over the patio or pool noodles, blowing around or whatever in the background, or don't have dead plants or trees in there. I mean, this sounds crazy, but I see it all the time. I see it
Hmm.
all the time on guys' websites, and they're just like, I got a picture. That should be good. But the client is thinking about trust right now, and they're looking
Yes.
through. They're not looking for just the beauty. They're looking for the
No.
problems, right? Our minds are wired to look for the problems. And if they see stuff
Hmm.
like, oh, look, the way that paver hits that corner just looks bad, or look over there, there's a dead bush, or look over here, there's that. It's like they're thinking if that's the best they can do,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, that's high risk for me. So to make sure that you have that laid out well, that you've taken the
Yep.
time to make sure that that is looking good.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. Another thing that I thought was really interesting is you mentioned the awkward part of the conversation, which has to do with budget. Um, and we really recommend when we work with contractors, if there's a contact form that the client has to fill out to get in touch with you, then you can have some questions about their name and their address, or maybe where they're located and the type of projects they want to do. But you can have a question on there about their budget. It usually helps a lot. So, if you say, hey, what's your budget for, this work? And also a timeline. Are you looking to get this done right away? Is this going to be done in the next, are you hoping to have this done in the next month? Or is this something for later on in the summer? Are you shopping ahead and this is only going to be a project for next year? All of those things are really important because then it can help you qualify clients and it can help with lead scoring, which is where you can rank which leads have a higher priority and which ones maybe are less qualified or that you can take, might not fit as well with what you're looking. But definitely, I would say a budget question in the contact form to say, is your budget between, and what I've seen is actually contractors where there is no $0 to $10,000 budget in the list, right? It starts
Mm-hmm.
off at 10 or it starts off at 20. So it could be 20 to 40, 40 to 60. So right away, what we're helping clients understand is if I only have $5,000 for my project, this contractor might not be the best choice.
Yep.
And, the client might take a chance. They might fill out the form anyway, but then it just becomes a lot easier for the contractor when they're working with that client to ask some questions and say, hey, you know what, like, what's your budget? Or I realize you chose 20 to 40. I just want to confirm, is that really your budget? I think it helps to remove some of the awkwardness when you've asked the client to self-identify what their budget is, and then we can just confirm it. And then we can talk a little bit about, well, at that budget, here's what you could expect, and just making sure we're aligned in terms of expectations.
It's one of the biggest questions they have is, can I afford this? Or
Hmm.
is this going to make sense for my family? Like that's a big, big, big question they have in their heart, and they just don't know how to have that conversation. They've been taught that it's an awkward thing and that contractors take advantage of people, and so you don't give
Yes,
them the real number. It's like this whole, like this kind of dodge and move situation.
that's true.
And it was the thing that I struggled the most with was budget, talking about it because I just wasn't comfortable with that. And it wasn't until I said, "What would life be like? Just imagine if budget was the thing I like to talk the most about." Instead of the thing I
Hmm.
wanted to avoid the most. Like, what if I
That's
got
true.
just really, really good at having that conversation with a customer? What would that look like for my business? And it changed everything, Oliver, because that wasn't awkward anymore. We have a fun way of having that conversation with customers, and we get to the point where they're giving us budget, and that's what we need. If we say,
Yep.
"All right, well, Oliver, your backyard is going to cost you $50,000 to $75,000. Does that work for you?" They're going to be like, yeah." And then next thing you know, it's going to blow up later. That's where objections come in when we start
Yeah.
dictating what's happening, right? Versus Mrs. Jones, how much do you have saved for a project like this? Or
Uh-huh.
what's your investment look like for a project like this? And letting her give it to you or him giving it to you. And if they don't, there's ways to get them to open up about that. Because if the number
Hmm.
comes from them, what's the likelihood of them following through versus the number coming from you?
That's true. Yep. Yep. And I
Huge
think a lot of
difference,
the
right?
times, yeah, there's a big difference. And homeowners won't always say it right up front. Oh, that's too expensive, because I think that can be a bit embarrassing for them. But
Mm-hmm.
often that'll show up after that with, like, they're ghosting you, they don't return your calls, or they'll just say, sorry, we went with somebody else. And so it's not always obvious that the budget was the problem. Sometimes if you're pretty perceptive, you can pick it up. But
Mm-hmm.
reframing the way that question gets asked and trying to make sure that it's a part of the conversation in a positive light tends to have a really important increase in terms of closing rates and having
Yeah.
more sales.
100%. And, it's a matter of where it lives in your conversation too, right? The old, the old adage, the way the contractors reach out to a client, it's like, hey, what do you want? How much you got? Even if it's not those exact words, is something like that. It's quick to the point. I don't have time. It's like, all right, well, I want a patio and I've got $5,000. Can you help me? Right.
Yeah.
And the contractor's like, no, I can't do it for $5,000. Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Like my point is, just like when you're dating, you don't go for the throat right away. Like you get to know the person a little bit first. You
Yeah,
create, because if we're
exactly.
building relationships will build long-term revenue. And if you're
Yes.
looking for a quick fix, then go after it like contractors have forever. That's why you'll get 25 to 30% close rate. That's standard in the
Hmm.
industry for what has been done forever. But if you want more, if you want 40, 50, 60, dare I say 70 or 80% close rates, that's
Yeah.
not going to happen unless you start building relationships. That's just not going to
No.
happen otherwise. You're going to have to, it's just, people aren't going to say yes to you until they know what's in it for them. They're not going to say
Yep.
yes to you and actually work with you unless they see more value in what you're offering than what you're charging. Right? And you can't do that quickly. That
Yeah.
takes time. That takes time to
Yep.
build that.
It
And
is.
when it comes to budget, it's a high consideration for the project, but it needs to be
Yeah.
nestled in toward the end of your conversation. Once you've built
Yeah.
trust and rapport, and then it's a safe environment, they can finally open up and
Yes.
be truthful, or they're just going to lie to you. They're just going to lie to you, and you're going to find it blow up later, and you're going to be online searching for some sales hack or guru to tell you some kind of, one-liner you can get them to give you
Yes.
the budget, and you're like, that's all I needed, because I keep running into these damn objections all the time. And the reason why that happens is because you didn't do the work in the beginning.
Yeah.
You tried to go really fast in the beginning, and then you pay for it later after you have
You're right.
all this time invested. You've got hours
Hmm.
and hours invested, and then it blows up. Why not blow it up before, when you've got
Yeah.
15 minutes into this relationship? Blow it up then. Then you're like, oh, don't need to spend time with that one. I can keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that, I mean, I really love what you said about in your book about the mission M75, right? Which is the mission of
Mhm.
getting 75% close rates.
Yep.
From what that resonated with me, because I feel like when the process is working properly and the marketing is in place and the sales process works well, overall contractors save time. And they get, and they get to focus on the right client, right? That's another one. And,
Yep.
every time you spend with a prospect who's never going to become your client, you're taking away time away that you could be spending with those that you can actually serve and that you can actually help. So,
Yep.
so that alignment is really important. And I really believe, from a marketing perspective, the elements we talked about last week, the website, the Google reviews, the Instagram, or I guess the social media proof and videos, all help to make sure that even by the time you get that first phone call, or you have that, the form that gets filled out, and you talk to that person for the first time, you've already eliminated a lot of the people that were never going to be your clients.
Yep.
And you've been able to really have clients that are more aligned with what you're looking to do for them.
Yeah, it's so much easier to work with a customer that wants what you have and that
Yes.
believes what you believe and wants the experience that you offer. Imagine if all those things line up. It's like, that's a done deal. We could do that every day, all day, and be perfectly happy with that.
Hmm.
But it's when we're trying to fit this, the square peg in a round hole, and we're
Yeah.
trying to convince them to go with us because we're hungry or whatever, like just don't have enough work or whatever. And pretty soon we're
Yeah.
taking all kinds of stuff we never would take. And then we're frustrated because we're getting leads that don't respect us and don't respect our process and just
Yeah.
want a quick fix. And then we're beating our heads against the wall. It's all of those things. That's the nature of owning business, but we have to draw and build barriers and some guardrails to this, right? Putting up
Yes.
some boundaries. It's really what I'm going for. Putting up some boundaries and know what you will and won't tolerate. Because in life, you get what you tolerate. And if you tolerate
For sure.
people beating you up constantly on the job site, verbally or otherwise, you're going to get more of that. And if you put up a boundary and like, I'm not going to deal with that. So the
No.
website is one of their first spaces that they
Yeah.
see, and they're like, okay, well, this looks like this could work. I mean, I like what it looks like. The pictures are
Yeah.
nice. It sounds like what they do is what I need. Let's take the next step on this opportunity. So then they reach out to you, and that's when you have the opportunity to do your pre-qualification to make sure that they're the right fit. Is there alignment again? Is there alignment? If not, let them go now.
Yeah.
Don't just keep your fingers crossed and get high on hopium and hope like heck they're going to line up later, like it's going to be fun. Like, all right, cool, yeah, I'll just be able to talk
No.
them into it. No, it's not how it works. You're
No.
just going to get
No.
an objection later with a false yes, or they're going to ghost you and you're going to be all pissed off again and butthurt because it happened 16th time this week. Yeah, because there's something wrong with your marketing or your sales process
Uh-huh.
that got you to that objection.
Yeah.
Something they expected that they didn't get. Let's uncover that early.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think fundamentally, like, you have to be able to do good work. I think that's really important. So I really encourage contractors not to really be careful about what they're putting out there. right? If you're really good at a certain type of project, that should be what you're putting forward in on your website. That should be what your
Mm-hmm.
social media posts are about. Like you don't want to do a bait and switch where you have a bunch of nice stuff, but you're actually not able to deliver, because then it's going to catch
Mm-hmm.
up to you at the end, right? Clients will be unhappy. The job won't go well. It's going to take a lot longer than you expected, or that and you're just going to end up frustrated, and you won't get those good Google reviews. So when the system is working well, then it's a cycle that actually reinforces itself. And
Mm-hmm.
then you will want to avoid the negative spiral that actually where you're not qualifying clients well enough. You're not drawing in the right type of clients. You're not qualifying them enough. You're not taking on the right type of jobs and work. And then you just end up with, you being upset, and the clients are unhappy as well. And then you're just more
Absolutely.
desperate next time, right? Because you're not getting any referrals. From a marketing perspective, I think I always see that our work is part of the job. Referrals and word of mouth usually are really important. And that's actually
Yeah.
something that I ask whenever we meet a contractor. I kind of ask them, like, okay, I understand you're talking to us about marketing. Are you getting word of mouth? Are you getting referrals? And if they aren't, that's a big red flag. That tells me that there might be deeper issues with their company. There's reasons, where sometimes I think marketing is an important function of a business. So it's important not to neglect it, but it should always complement what you're naturally getting. That's healthy. If you're getting
Yeah.
word of mouth, if you're getting referrals, then maybe you want to you want to make sure your website is professional looking, and you want to make sure that what your online presence is up to par with the level of expertise and service that you're going to give clients. That's the right way, the right reason. But we see it sometimes, contractors that are desperate for leads. It's usually not a good sign, and it usually doesn't help fix their business.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, there's definitely those both sides. We have to look at that. I know when it comes to sales and marketing, what we're looking for as business owners is predictability, and not just hope. Like, I'm going to
Hmm.
throw whatever $2,000, $5,000 a month at this marketing campaign. I'll get leads. I'll close them. Don't worry. Just get them into me. I'll just take anything that comes in the door, right? Because that's what we need, just opportunities, right? It's really
Yeah.
about making it a predictable system that produces opportunities that can be profitable. And when we
Yes.
can do that, right? When the leads are coming in, the right people are coming in the door, we know
Hmm.
what to say to them, how to ask them the right questions, how to open
Yeah.
them up, because we know this is an emotional buy. They don't buy outdoor living because they need it. They buy it because they want it. So it's
Yeah.
a very different thing than if you're going to buy a car or you're selling widgets that they might need. This isn't about that. This is about a want. So now we're into the emotional side. Now it's a
Yeah.
matter of, okay, how do we set the expectations? Because that's core 10 is a 10th core is about, the road to profit and loss is paved in expectations. If the
Hmm.
client's expecting one thing and you deliver something else, there's a problem. But when they're expecting one thing and you deliver that thing plus, you're going to win. They're going to win. Everybody
Yeah.
wins. So it's understanding where their thinking is. We need to uncover that and then to deliver on that or better. That's the easy way to break that out. But so much of that is, how do we create the process
Yeah.
where it's predictable, where we know we have X amount of, we have 100 leads coming in. We know we're going to close 60, 70, 80, or 90 of them. The average project is 30, 40, 100,000, whatever it is for you. You can
Yeah.
do the math and where you're going to go. You got to put in X amount in marketing to get Y amount of leads so you can get X amount of, of projects that'll help fill that funnel. It's that predictability, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely possible when
Yes.
you take time to focus. But the problem with contractors, and I was one of these, that's why I can say this out loud, Oliver, is the problem with contractors, we don't have time to focus on that. We have time
No.
just to try to keep all the plates spinning outside on the job
Yes.
sites with the clients, dealing with the rain and the broken equipment and the guys quitting and this not happening on time. And
Yeah.
we didn't put enough margin in this project for profit and all. Like, that's where the brain's at. But if we
Uh-huh.
streamline the front end,
Yeah.
sales and marketing, those other opportunities, if they aren't great, say you lose money on a project, at least you got more coming.
Yeah.
If you don't have more coming, that's a really, really hard winter time or season when you don't have a lot of work and you're doing work that's not profitable, all because you took it because you thought you needed to. And now
Yeah.
we're sitting here thinking like there's no predictability. I'm just taking whatever
Yeah.
whatever I get thrown. Like, I'll go
That's
dig
true.
a ditch today and I'll go put a pond in tomorrow. I'll do whatever people are sending me to do. And you
Yeah.
can't be profitable at all of those things. Not many
No.
people are successful with that. So it is
Yeah.
focusing, designing and laying out a predictable system that safeguards your time so that you can take that time and invest it in your business to make sure these systems are running well so your install side can run efficiently as well. It's time we're buying back right now. Having the system, the predictability in place, so we have that time to invest in the right spots, not in a bunch of people who couldn't say yes to you anyway.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. And I like what you mentioned. I'm going to add something with regards to the marketing spend. We always like to tie in when we work with contractors, the analytics side where, we'll track the amount of phone calls and who called them, the actual phone calls that called their business. We'll track the forms that were filled out. And we always ask to get feedback about, okay, how many of those turn into sales and how much did you sell and where's the profitability? Because the goal is to have a reinforcing cycle where, if you know that a particular ad or a particular campaign, if you're running two campaigns and one generated a whole bunch of leads, but none of them actually, were good clients, and another one maybe even generated less leads, but all of those people that came in were really well aligned, really aligned with the business, and you were able to sell them, and your team enjoyed working with them, and they were fun projects to do, and they were profitable in the end. Then that's really important to know from a marketing perspective, so that we can reinforce the winners and drop the losers. And I would say from anybody who's doing marketing, doing it yourself, or you're working with somebody, make sure that you're getting that feedback from them, and make sure you're giving them that feedback. That will help them a lot. Anyways, they should be asking you if they aren't, but you make sure that you're tying in your marketing back to your sales, and that the two work together. And I would even say, going back into your delivery and your profitability, that's really important data to better inform your marketing decisions and create predictable systems, so that you're able to have the right amount. And I do think from my perspective, there is the danger of spending too much in marketing. It's possible to, to spend too much. It's possible to underspend. What we're looking to do is just to have a balanced approach to be able to create a predictable system.
Yep, exactly. Now, predictability is the target, right? So we can say, hey, we've got X amount to put in the marketing. It's going to yield us what we need in order to grow this business. That's really good stuff, dude. Any other thoughts you had on the book here before we wrap up?
There was a lot. There's actually some things that I took from me. I mean, I'm not a contractor working with homeowners. We typically work with contractors, but there were some things that I thought were interesting. I really liked that we talked about it, but that idea of the time you spend with prospects that are not going to become customers is time you're taking away. I really like the one about speed as well. Kills all deals or something like that. Sorry, I didn't memorize them, but but I like the one where you have to seem prepared, and you need to be prepared. You don't need just to seem prepared, but you need to be prepared. And it's important to get back to clients in a timely fashion and show them that you are guiding them through a process, as opposed to just trying to scramble from one place to another, from one prospect to another, from one job to another. And there's a story that you included in the book, which was really interesting, where somebody took too much time to get back to a client, and the homeowners went with somebody else, and they just said, we felt like that other person had more time for us, and you just seemed really busy. And that for me was very telling, because I feel like often we're busy, right? We're always busy. And then that really made me think, would the people I'm talking to, either current clients or potential clients that I'm meeting, would they say that about me? Would they say, Oliver, you just seem really busy? And maybe that is not the best angle to or view for them. I mean, if we're too busy to meet with them in the sales consult and in the sales process, are we going to be available for them when it comes time to working on their project? And if they have issues, are we going to be available, right? If we're always busy and we're always running around, that's not a very doesn't indicate really good trust for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And thank you for that. And that's so much about, the different cores in there, specifically that if you're spending time with tire kickers, that you're robbing from the ones who can say yes to you, right? Think about it. Like we're all really busy. There's a lot of times guys will call, and it happens all the time, where their closing rates are probably 2, maybe 3 out of 10, right? So, but they're spending 7 or 8 times together with clients who aren't going to say yes to them because they don't have a formal pre-qualification system from the office yet, right? But all that time, and then what happens is the 2 or 3 that did say yes to them, they feel like, I don't know if this guy's going to show up anyway, right? There's not enough time left. If you imagine a world where you took all of that time, all time you had allocated for those 10 people, and you could put it just into the 2 or 3 that you're going to close. Just take
Yeah.
all of it and put it in there. Do you think that would lead to more referrals? Do you think that would lead to a
Yes.
better customer experience? Do you think that would lead to deeper relationships? Do you think that would be a better project? I mean,
Mhm.
obviously the answer is yes. So how do we do that before we ever go out? Because if we're just going to turn and burn and get out as fast as we can, time does kill all deals, but there is a strategy involved with that.
Yes.
Setting expectations, getting out and meeting with them. If you're doing $1,000 projects, listeners, and you're out just remulching things, well, that stuff is a little bit different. We're talking about higher end projects here where you're dealing with high ticket, anything up
Mhm.
north of maybe $15,000 or $20,000, where you're building a deeper relationship. This is an emotional purchase, and it's very important to get it right, or you're not going to have the opportunity or the ability to serve that client. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that actually serves sometimes as a test. For me, anyways, I took it that way to say, hey, am I able to respond quickly? And am I able to stay on track? And am I able to stay in control of these different, people that I'm following up with in the sales
yeah,
process? And if I start to feel like I'm not, right? Oh, I see this one is slipping. This person I haven't gotten back to in a couple of days and they're waiting for an answer from me. That's really a red flag to say, okay, I have to look over at my schedule and maybe I need to adjust a little bit. Because I don't think any of this is, I think your core 10 are great principles. And for me, and you even mentioned this, Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement. So you start with
mhm,
something, but I think it's really good to have that feedback. And I took that as one of the things I'm going to be looking out for is if I feel like I'm getting too busy and I'm going to challenge myself to our clients starting to think, our potential clients starting to think that I'm too busy, then that's a red flag. That means I have to go back and look at my process and
yeah,
figure out, am I taking on too many and do I need to qualify better so that I can actually spend time and have a higher closing rate with the people that we're going to be a great fit for.
yep, exactly.
So thank you for that.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing. And listeners, if you haven't had the chance to get the book yet, it's on Amazon. It's both in print and also Audible. I know I love
Hmm.
to listen to books as I'm driving or running or rucking or whatever it might be. So it's on there on Audible as well. So if you want to download your copy, just go out to Amazon. You'll see everything right there. Oliver, thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts about the book. And I appreciate you and look forward to seeing you in the future.
All right. Thank you, Joshua. Thanks for inviting
All
me.
right. Absolutely, listeners. We'll talk next week.